If you grew up in the 80s and 90s, chances are this book, Flowers in the Attic, you up. If you know, you know. And with all this talk about Anna Paul and Addis, I went down a rabbit hole trying to figure out who was VC Andrews, why were they writing this stuff, and why was I so obsessed? I devoured these books like they were Skittles. What I found out about this woman's life, it's a tinge creepy. Maybe you're a lot younger than me, you didn't read the book, but you saw this 2014 movie, starring Heather Graham as the mom, Ellen Burstyn as the grandmother, and a very young Kiernan Shipka playing Catherine. I know for a fact my parents didn't know what was in these books, but they kept buying them for me. Cleo Virginia Andrews was born on June 6th, 1923 in Portsmouth, Virginia. She was a Gemini. She was her parents' only daughter and they doted on her. Her family was very religious. She grew up in Southern Baptist and Methodist churches. When she was a teenager, she fell down a flight of stairs, severely injuring her back, and then she had surgeries to try to correct it. The surgeries ended up making her injuries worse. She dealt with severe arthritis and crippling pain. For the rest of her life, she had to depend on crutches or a wheelchair to move around. Because of her injuries, she became dependent on her parents, and it's said her mother was embarrassed of her injuries and sort of kept her inside the house. Virginia was ultra smart, ultra talented. She loved to paint. Her father passed away when she was 34 years old. She had to find a way to support herself and her mother, so she started selling her paintings. She did this for about 2 decades, just in the house painting. Eventually, she turned to writing, and she would write salacious stories under an alias. When she was 56 years old, she wrote Flowers in the Attic. It took her 2 weeks to write it, and when she published it, it was an instant hit. She went on book tours to promote her book. She started making a chunk of change. She dedicated Flowers in the Attic to her mother. Weird. But because her mother knew there was a lot of weirdness in there, she never read it. She supported her daughter, always traveling with her. This seemed very codependent in a sinister way. She wasn't writing these books for young adults, but pretty soon she became a preteen teen icon. And this lady was making bank. After Flowers in the Attic, she released a book every single year, until she passed away at the age of 63 in 1986 from breast cancer. Because her books were so incredibly lucrative, almost immediately her family hired a ghostwriter. His name is Andrew Niederman, and he's been writing under the pen name VC Andrews since 1986. We're talking dozens and dozens of books. This woman only published 7 books in her lifetime, but it keeps going and going. Have you read Flowers in the Attic and the rest of the series? If so, how old were you? Because I think I was 12.